Good evening, friends. Meeting again in the session of philosophy, and we are discussing about the sixth chapter from the H.A. Robert, that is Homeopathy and Fundamental Laws. In this chapter, he tried to explain the laws of homeopathy in relation with the fundamental laws, that is, laws of basic sciences, and how homeopathic laws are absolutely correlated with the basic fundamental laws. That's why they are labeled as the fundamental. That's why they are labeled as the natural laws. And this is very important thing because unless and until you know it, you cannot explain it to the other. We are blamed from the other practitioners that homeopathy is a fluke science, homeopathy is just to explain dynamics, etc. But it is not so. It is completely based upon the scientific principles. No pathy has those principles. In fact, it is a jealousy against homeopathy which develops because of that, because we have cardinal principles and which goes hand in hand with the basic principles, basic science principles. And that's why he tries to explain in this chapter the correlation between the fundamental laws at the same time the homeopathic laws. And he has explained the two, three important things. He started with the law of similars. He explained the existence of law of similars, how it came into existence with the experimentation. Then he started explaining about the Hering's law of direction of Kuber, again based upon the facts. Then he explained that all those laws has a significance with the Newton's third law of motion, or which is also called as law of reciprocal action. That is, actions and reactions are equal and opposite, and at each and every sphere of the human life, whether in the state of health, whether in the state of disease, or whether in the state of cure, this law is applicable. And then he also explained that law of biological development, that is, functions creates the organs. This law is very important in order to understand how the human develops from center to periphery. In the similar manner, how health is maintained from center to periphery, and how disease also develops, affecting the center, expressing at periphery. And that's why he tried to explain the correlation of the law of biological development with the homeopathic laws. So one more thing which he has explained about the law of quantity, law of least quantity, and the quantity necessary to produce any action is least possible. And this is again a very important fact which one must know. So these are things which he tried to explain in relation with the homeopathic laws, and that's why we derived the law of minimum dose. That is, the dose should be so minimum as to so as to arouse the vitality in a diseased individual. So these are things which we have learned in yesterday's lecture. Let us go with the page number 59, the paragraph number 4, fifth. That is, the now the law of using governing the homeopathic remedy must therefore be the dose and quantity that will thoroughly permeate the organism and make its essentially impress upon the vital force is that which will affect the functional sphere of the individual. So every remedy which we used to prescribe it in the potentized form, and because of which it generally affects the vital force, producing the functional symptoms, because the first thing happens affects is the functions, and because of which functional symptoms comes. For example, if you start getting pain in throat, the function is affected, you are not able to swallow. If you are having headache, the pain is there in the head, you are not able to concentrate, you are not able to read, you are not able to do any activity. So whenever functional symptoms comes, those symptoms reflects the internal derangement of the vital force, and that is nothing but the language of the internal derangement of vital force. Homeopathic remedies have the capacity to produce such type of alterations, and that's why the remedies which we prescribe on the basis of totality of symptoms affect the human being in the same plane where the natural disease happens to be there. And that's why homeopathic remedies works. We say this must therefore be, if we reason logically and have observed carefully, keeping our line of reasoning along the lines of laws already formulated and proven sound, we can do no less than believe that this is a truly fundamental law. So all those laws which are derived in homeopathy, right from the law of similars, law of simplex, law of minimum, so all those laws, they are going hand in hand with the fundamental law. So they are the part and parcel of the laws of basic science. And if it is so, then you have to truly say that your laws, that is homeopathic laws, are absolutely fundamental laws. He is giving you a right judgment to explain the scientificity of those laws. And then he says, for many years, daily practice has proven the value of the law of repetition of the dose. Never repeat your remedy so as it continues to act. Underline this. This is called as law of repetition of the dose. It is asked for MCQ. Never repeat till Never repeat your remedy so long as it continues to act. So if you have given the patient, for example, say PA1M, and patient is improving. If it is improving, wet and wet, that's all. Unless and until patient again starts showing the symptomatology. It is the time then only you think about it, and then you can repeat it. But till the progress is going on, you should not repeat. This is very important law of repetition. When you are giving the constitutional remedy, this is very specific. So keep it in your mind. Never repeat your remedy so long as it continues to act. And write it on one side. This is the first important law of repetition, specifically when you are prescribing. And another law is of repetition is there, which is for drug proving, that he has given next. This governs the administration of remedies to the individuals in state of disease. Let us look at the law that must govern the production of symptoms by artificial means. That is drug proving, by which we get our guidance for the administration of drugs to the sick. The object of proving drugs in the production of artificial diseases, that we may observe the symptoms and apply the substances to so proven in like states of natural disturbance. The law governing this must be closely allied to the law of administration of in the states of disease, or else our case is not logical. We find this law. Underline the next law. This law is law for specifically when you prove. Never repeat a dose in proving while symptoms are manifest from the dose already taken. This is called as law of repetition in proving. Never repeat the dose in proving while symptoms are manifest from the dose already taken. So if you had a given first dose for proving, and if it is working, it is showing its symptoms, till the symptoms are going on, don't repeat. Very specific law for the proving. These are two different laws. One is for the administration specifically in the patient on the basis of law of stimulus, and second is for the purpose of proving. So these two laws are very important from exam point of view for the students. Both are MCQs. What is the law of repetition in patient, and what is the law of repetition in proving? It has been specifically asked with the name, which are the two laws explained by H.A. Robert regarding the repetition. So these are two laws. One should always keep it in their mind. Again, granting that homeopathy is allied to all nature, we must concede that orbits or cycles of actions are fundamental part of natural manifestation. So also, we find that homeopathic remedies that have cycles of development and recession. If a natural cycle of symptoms development is interfered with, we gain no knowledge of the true nature of substance being proved. At best, we can get but a distorted comprehension of its nature when there is any interference. Continuing to administer repeatedly, a remedy it is producing disease symptoms in a prover would make chaos out of normal cycle of disease symptoms which have been in process of development. This is simply the result of logical reasoning. So this is why it should not be repeated during the drug proving. The reason he has mentioned. If you would have given, for example, a remedy, belladonna for proving. If you have prescribed the belladonna for the proving and belladonna is showing its symptoms and it is going on. If you interfere with another dose, the original symptomatology which was coming from the belladonna's first dose, if it is coming out, if you boost it up, the whole cycle gets disturbed because it is coming in a proper direction and you have to find it out from where the symptoms have started and where they will going to end. This is too important. we can get exactly understanding how many days it acts, what is the first symptom of proving, and what is the last symptom of proving. In between, if you boost it up, again that cycle disturbs and you cannot understand exactly the proving. And for that purpose, it is necessary that to don't repeat unless and until the whole symptomatology stops appearing. This is regarding the proving. And then he explains, examining still further into the laws of governing the production of artificial states, we artificial disease states, we find there are laws governing various states or types of substances which we desire to prove. Yet, as yet, we may find these laws crudely phrased, but they follow closely the law of mutual action, the law of least action, and the laws of quantity and quality. So what he is saying, even during the proving, these four laws are applicable. Law of mutual action, because this is the law on which your remedy will going to show its symptomatology. Law of least action, the quantity necessary in order to produce any change is least possible. Again, you are giving the least possible, least quantity whenever you are proving. The laws of quantity and quality, already we have discussed both. They are inversely proportional. The quantity necessary for the proving is inversely proportional to the susceptibility, or all those are applicable. And that's why during proving also, the laws which are there in the nature, they are applicable. And that's why the laws which are formed in the homeopathy are scientific, or which are fundamental and basic. And then he explains the 4 points. Number one, any drug which in its natural state affects the vital energy, but little will develop, proving only in high potency. These are laws of proving and how to prove the remedy. So what is saying? Any drug which in its natural states affects the vital energy, but little will develop, proving only in high potency. So for example, if you have a medicinal substance, for example, we'll take that uh, arsenic album, or any metal, iron you will take, and you will going to give the iron in crude form, it will never affect the human being. If you want results of iron, you want to prove the iron, then you have to give it in high potency, because in crude form, it never alters the state of human being. Why these laws are important? Why it is necessary to understand? We must understand this because it indicates the action of the remedy. So if you are giving ferrum phos or ferrum metallicum to the patient, in low potency, it will not going to make so much of changes. But in high potency, the person will react to the ferrum, because this in crude form will not going to produce any change in the human body. And that's why even during application of that remedy, you have to utilize the high potency for that. Number two, any drug which in its natural state disturbs the vital energy to functional manifestations only may be proven in crude form. So any drug which is in natural state affects the functional energy. For example, any example do you know? Just a simple example is onion. You are cutting the onion and you get the symptoms directly. Even though you have not consumed it, still it starts showing its symptoms. So it started showing its functional symptoms even in natural state, disturbs the vital energy and affects. So there is no need to prove that remedy in a higher potency. Either you prove it mother tincture, either you prove it in low potency 630, but you don't have to go for high. And that's why allium SIPA, when you are using, you never require 1 m, 10 m, 50 mcm, not necessary, because it is so strong in its action. In low potency, even 630 will be sufficient to cure that patient. So why it is necessary to understand this law, then we can think about the potency, which is the remedy, how it affects the human being in crude state. Accordingly, we can think whether to use high or low. So this is too important to understand. The third law, which he mentions over there, any drug which in its natural state disturbs the vital energy to the destructive manifestation should be proved only in a potentized form. Means what? Simple example. We'll take an example of nitric acid. What will happen if nitric acid is put in the mouth in the crude form? The action is destructive. It destructs. It corrodes, burns the whole tongue. So if you will prove this in crude form, you're going to get only destruction, nothing else. Such types of remedies you have to be proved in potentized form. So nitric acid should not be given in too low or in mother tincture form. It should be given in higher potency or medium potency, but only in potentized form. You cannot use it in mother tincture form. These three laws are necessary in order to understand the depth of action, how they affect the vital energy in their crude form. In crude form, if they are produced no reaction, it should be proved in high potency. If it affects in the crude form at the functional level, then it should be proved either in mother tincture or very low potency. And if the in crude form it affects the vital energy in the destructive plane, then you can prove it only in potentized form. So is it clear? So concept is very, very clear, and because of which we can think about the potency. Any queries regarding this? These are very essential laws one must understand. Okay, we'll go ahead. It has been demonstrated that planetary movements have a definite relationship to the life. Underline this. This is what we have to understand. Planets and human, very, very important relationship. It has been demonstrated that planetary movements have a definite relationship to the life. The power of the moon over the tides is an ancient and constant observation. The relationship of the earth and the sun offers an irrefutable argument in favor of correlation of the planetary influences. The influence of the phases of the moon or some mental conditions and nervous complaints has been noted from the earliest times. For instance, the appellation lunacy designated a mental disturbance definitely related to the moon phases. Epileptic conditions also have shown some response to the cycles of moon. In other words, through these abnormal conditions of the mental and nervous disturbances, we have perceived dimly from time to time the outlines of great truth. This is again very important aspect one must study. All planetary movements have effect on the human life. Basically, it affects the human brain because the CSF is there and which gets very easily affected with the planetary movements. The moon phases specifically affect the sleep. That's why the migraine happens to be there more commonly during the moon phases, either in new moon, either in full moon. Same is true when the biliary cases happens, the labor cases, generally during the new moon or full moon. These are very, very important things one should not forget. So planetary movements have a direct effect on human body. The energy of the planets affects the vital energy of the human being. It is very important that we must study such things. If you will read the Robin Murphy's book, either commentary or his keynotes or either Lotus Matra Medica, he has given a planetary significance with each and every remedy. Here he was actually a naturopath converted into homeopath, and he has studied all those aspects in relation with the human life. And that's why he has clearly mentioned that every planet has a very specific action on certain systems, and accordingly he has correlated the remedy with that. Such a significance is very, very essential, and we must know. And then he says that cyclic manifestations have been demonstrated in other fields than medicine is easily seen from the most cursory glance at the science of astronomy. In its earlier stages, astronomy suffers from some blind groping, ignorance, or stupid superstitious that has been hampered the intelligent observation of all natural phenomena. Nevertheless, it has emerged as a true science of mathematical exactness. It is still true that deductions from the most careful measurement and the computations vary between different schools, yet it is the most closely measurable of all the science today. So he is giving you again a significance of astronomy. Many times, many people comment that astronomy is superstitious thing and all those things. It's not like that. In fact, it is the science which is based upon mathematics. There are calculations, and those are calculations which predicts many things and which are very perfect many times. You have to believe because it is based upon the facts and their expression. We must know all of them. And that's why one should not just comment without knowing the thing. My suggestion is also always there. You must find it out the truth behind them. Then you can comment. If you find it out truth, follow it. If you don't find it out truth, then you don't follow it. But you have to first experiment. I have experimented. I know the thing. When I was born in 1969, the day I was born, uh, one of the astronomers who has written my whole story over there, and he has written on day one that I will become a doctor in such and such year, and we will get in it in first class, and all things he has written on day one. How can this be possible? It is there, proof is there with me. He has written with the years that I will going to become a doctor in 1990. How can it be? He has predicted it in 1969. The things has happened like that because it is a science. Those who knows it, they shows it. There are many persons who doesn't know it, and that's why they comment. And that science spoils. But it has its own significance. And even Robert says that. And what he says, let us quote from the Concise Knowledge of Astronomy, History by Agnes McClurk, page number 12 and 13. The subjection of moon to known law was completed by the dispersal of mystery surrounding a slight, continuous acceleration of a orbital velocity detected by Halley in 1693. It has been a progress since the earliest recorded eclipse in the 721 BC is not, if not longer. There was no sign of its cessation or reversal, and the grave question around was the principle of universal attraction elsewhere unreversely obeyed? Here fatally complicated by the action of resisting medium involving the eventual collapse of the Earth-Moon system. Laplace gave the answer in 1787 by proving the observed quickening of the pace to be a necessary and simple consequences of secular diminution in the eclipticity of the Earth's orbit. This, however, will not go on forever in same direction. After many ages, the tide, the change will turn and complete restoration to the status quo ante will ensue. Ruinous disturbances were shown to be excluded by the overwhelming disparity of mass between the central body and its attendants, no less than by regularity and harmony of their movements and distribution. Thus only slight oscillatory changes can occur. Millions of years will elapse without producing any fundamental alteration. The machine is so beautifully adjusted as to right itself automatically through the mutual action of its various parts, and it is the force which perturbs that eventually restores. He has written that, he has taken that paragraph from the astronomy book, and that paragraph is very interesting paragraph. There was one person who has explained about the eclipse which happened 721 BC and how it was persistent for longer time period. There was one person that Halley has explained about it, and later Laplace he explained that it will not remain persistent; it will disappear with the help of astronomy. And see that what he mentions over there. All the planets are revolving around the sun in a specific direction, in a specific order, and it is continuous process for years together, thousands of years it is going on. It is not changing. So this is very important thing one must understand. It has some significance, because of which we know when we have made a calendar because of that only. Our calendar is dependent upon the solar system. We have prepared it. How do we have prepared? How do we believe that next day there will be sunrise? Actually, it is not sunrise, but we rise and we come down. But still, we say it's sunrise. How can we believe? And we can make a calendar because it is a continuous process of observation led us to find it out all those things. This is how the science developed. The science is here. And that's why he explains over there all those things which are correlated with the human nature, human being, and that those are to which human is real. There is a big significance of planetary movements and the human mind, and those we have to understand. There is a science behind it. There is a big book, one book written by C.M. Boger, Times of Remedies and Moon Phases. One must go through it, and then you believe how many different things which he tried to explain in that book. So we'll conclude over here and we'll meet on Monday with the remaining part of this chapter, and we'll finish this very important chapter where he tried to correlate the homeopathic science with the basic science in order to show the scientificity or the fundamentalness of the homeopathic law. So that's all for today. Today we're going to learn at 8:15 the remaining part of the remedy graphitis. We have learned certain aspects of graphitis in yesterday's lecture. Today we'll go ahead and we're going to learn the remaining part of graphitis at 8:15. Till that period, thanks a lot for attending session. We'll meet again. Thank you and good evening.
Thank you, sir. Have a good evening.
Thank you.